Life has a way of testing us when we least expect it. For some, the journey feels smooth, almost paved with certainty. But for others, especially those who are underestimated, the path is filled with challenges, rejections, and doubts from the very people they wish would believe in them. This is the story of a young man who was constantly told he wasn't good enough. People doubted him, laughed at his dreams, and treated his efforts like they would amount to nothing. Yet deep down, he carried something they couldn't see. A burning fire, a quiet determination that no amount of rejection could extinguish. He refused to let their doubt define him, and he turned every insult into fuel, every obstacle into a stepping stone, and every failure into a lesson. As a child, he had dreams bigger than the world he lived in. But when he shared them, most people rolled their eyes. "You can't do that," they said. "You're not smart enough, not talented enough, not lucky enough." Those words pierced him like arrows, and yet, instead of bleeding out his spirit, they only strengthened his resolve. He realized early on that if he listened to every critic, his life would never move forward. So he made a choice. Not to silence the world, but to silence his own doubts. He began to believe that even if no one clapped for him, even if no one stood beside him, he could still walk toward his dream with courage. The road was never easy. He worked long hours at jobs most people wouldn't take, just to support his family and keep a little hope alive for the future. Sometimes he would come home exhausted, his hands rough, his back aching, his mind questioning whether it was all worth it. But then he would see the faces of the people he loved, the ones who depended on him, and he would find strength he didn't know he had. He wasn't just working for money. He was working for dignity, for pride, and for the chance to prove that his story would not end in silence. Every morning, as the sun rose, he rose with it, tired but unbroken, weary but willing to try again. What makes his story powerful is not that he succeeded quickly, but that he refused to give up despite years of failure. He stumbled many times. He lost opportunities. He faced rejection letters that piled up like bricks on his chest. But with every no, he whispered to himself, "This is not the end." He learned that rejection is not proof of weakness. It is an invitation to grow stronger. And so, instead of drowning in disappointment, he sharpened his skills. Instead of running from failure, he studied it. He treated life like a teacher, and though the lessons were painful, he learned them well. Slowly, the people around him began to notice something different. He no longer walked with his head down. He no longer allowed their laughter to shake him. He carried himself with quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need to shout. And one by one, the walls that once trapped him began to crack. Opportunities started to appear, not because the world suddenly changed, but because he had changed. His persistence carved paths where none seemed to exist. What once looked like an impossible dream started to take shape, like a sunrise breaking through the darkest night. There were still moments of doubt, of course. He was human. There were nights when he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if he had chosen the wrong path. There were mornings when he felt too tired to move, too overwhelmed to keep fighting. But he always remembered why he started. He remembered the little boy who once dreamed without fear, the young man who promised himself never to quit, and the family who silently believed in him even when words failed them. That memory gave him power. That memory reminded him that life's battles are not won by those who never fall, but by those who keep standing up. Years passed, and the same people who once mocked him began to admire him. They said things like, "We always knew you had it in you." He smiled, but deep down, he knew the truth. They hadn't believed in him at the start. But that didn't matter anymore, because his journey was never about proving them wrong. It was about proving himself right. He learned that the greatest victory in life is not applause from others, but peace within yourself. He had reached a place where he no longer needed validation, because he carried his own. His story teaches us that being underestimated can be a blessing in disguise. When no one believes in you, you learn to believe in yourself more deeply. When the world doubts you, you discover strength you never imagined. When you are pushed down, you develop the resilience to rise higher than before. And once you taste that kind of resilience, no challenge can ever fully break you. To anyone listening who has been told you're not good enough, let this story be a reminder. Their opinion does not define your destiny. You may not control the voices of doubt around you, but you control the voice inside you. And if that voice speaks with courage, persistence, and hope, there is no limit to what you can achieve. So keep walking, even when the road feels endless. Keep fighting, even when the world seems against you. Keep believing, even when nobody else does. Because sometimes, the most beautiful stories are born from the most difficult struggles. And sometimes the people who are doubted the most shine the brightest in the end. The boy who turned doubt into determination was not born special. He was simply someone who refused to quit. And maybe, just maybe, that's what greatness really is. The courage to keep going when everything tells you to stop. Remember this. You don't need permission to chase your dreams. You don't need approval to create a better future. All you need is the fire within, the willingness to rise again, and the patience to keep moving forward, one step at a time. So the next time you hear the words, "You can't do it," smile, because deep down, you know the truth. You can. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize that their doubt was never your weakness. It was your strength all along.